Picture this. The year is 2030, Sparky has legs, the knight's mustache is consuming his entire face, and Skeleton Army takes up the entire arena. That's what the game could look like when we get to 2030. Today we are going to be looking at absurd Clash Royale cards that could be in our future. But before we get into it, my cat asked me to ask you to like and subscribe, so please make sure to do that. She would really appreciate it. Alright, let's get right into it. Alright, the first card we have is the Rocket Ram, and this thing basically is just a portable battle ram for any of your troops. Now, I don't know exactly how it would work. This is just a concept idea, but I would imagine you could only put things under like 5 elixir inside because like a giant couldn't fit in that little tiny chair. So I think this would be a really cool idea, and I feel like being able to just like put like a mini Pekka or a lumberjack inside the rocket ram and have it speed up and launch into the tower, it makes like a really interesting idea of like making cards that aren't win conditions into a win condition. I think it would just be a really spicy and interesting idea. I think it is a really cool concept, and I honestly think that this would be a very good addition to the game. Now, this next one I wanted to show is actually insane, and it's called the Reflector, and it's basically like somebody predicted the monk. This video was made before champions and abilities were a thing, and I feel like this would just be very overpowered, especially considering now we know how good Monk was. But I just thought it was really cool that this person predicted what the Monk was 4 years ago. For the next few cards, these are actual cards with like stats and health points and all that stuff, and I figured these were way too cool to keep out, so I'm going to show you a couple of these real quick. The first one we got here is called the Freezer, and because it's a furnace, like I really feel like there needs to be a card that's the opposite and for the Ice Spirit. That's exactly what this card is. I think the stats are really well made. I feel like this is very fair, and you know, maybe it could be a couple less elixir. But besides that, I really like this idea for a card, and I think it should definitely be in the game. The next card that we got here is the Giant Cannon, and I thought that this was just a really cool idea for a building that's like very defensive oriented, and I just figured like a cannon mixed with a magic archer mixed with like a mortar. I thought this was a really cool idea, and it felt like a super fair thing too, because the range is so short that I feel like it's just like, it wouldn't feel that annoying to face. And you can actually like play around this building by like stacking your troops separately. And this card would also struggle a lot against dual lane pressure, so like it has counters. I think this would be a really cool idea, and it's really just exactly what the game needed, another hog counter. Next we got this one, which I just thought was kind of ridiculous. It's called the Flying Hog Rider, and I could just imagine how freaking aggravating this could be to face. Literally, that's the only reason I'm showing this card, is because of how ridiculous it is. But at the end of the description text, it says the King of the Riders, which I think is technically incorrect because Dream fans are definitely way better at meat riding. The next two cards we got here are actually insane, and the two cards we have are Shield and Barbarian. The Shield is a short duration spell that makes all things inside of it immune. You could put it on your tower if somebody's about to fireball you and like kill you. It's just a really cool idea for a card. The other idea was Zombie Barbarian, and this card's actually insane. Like, this card is actually absurd. Here's some gameplay to show what the Zombie Barbarian does. As you can see, the person plays it on a goblin. When it kills it, it infects it and summons a barbarian for your side. I thought this was a really cool idea. It's very similar to Mother Witch, but I like the idea of like resurrecting enemy troops on like a melee attack and, you know, summoning like a new barbarian or something like that. Obviously, I think that would be way too strong. They'd have to definitely tone it down and make it like, I don't know, the stats of a goblin or something like that. I thought that would honestly just be an awesome addition to the game. And for the shield, you can see a concept here. Basically, the opponent places a shield on top of his king, and then we zap, and it just deals no damage, which is a really crazy idea. This would definitely be way too OP at 3 elixir and 4-second duration, but if it was toned down, I think it could be a really cool idea. Not every single custom card turns out as good as others, and for this one, I thought it was so funny because I just imagine somebody like making this unironically, like so excited about this card, and they were trying to name it Ogre, and they named it Orge. And the funnier part is that the stats are so low for 7 elixir. Like, this thing, it's got a fast hit speed, but it dies to like a fireball, and it's 7 elixir, and it deals less damage than like a knight. It is less HP, too. Thought this was just super ridiculous, so I wanted to show that. And for our last card here, we have the Mega Pekka. And honestly, this is just too absurd that I couldn't leave it out. It's literally a Pekka that's on a tank. And in case that wasn't enough, it like can like one-shot a giant, and when it gets to the tower, you can see that it's menacing, and once it's on there, it hits fast. Look at that. It would be the first 11 elixir card in Clash Royale, because this thing's absolutely absurd. And then if that wasn't enough, when it dies, it becomes a literal tank, and once it gets to the enemy's side, it literally will just shoot giant cannonballs at your opponent. This card was just absolutely too absurd and insane to leave out, so I had to show it. But anyways, that's all the absurd cards I have for you today. Please make sure to check out the Twitch. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.